Max Payne is the new action movie based on a video game starring Mark Wahlberg, who I think is America's top action movie star, and he's with us at last. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Now,
it's an honor to be here.
Well, when I describe you as an action star, that's not necessarily the be-all and end-all for you. You've done a lot of them, but this one is a little different because even if, let's say, the sound were turned off, it's got a visual film noir look to it. Did it look different when you were making it? Everything dark and black and white and kind of dank?
Yeah. And John Moore has a very, very unique vision. But I once we agreed on what the character's journey was all about, I kind of focused on that, and I allowed him to do his thing. Well, he allowed me to do my thing, and then when I finally saw the end result, I was like, wow.
I've heard you talking about this film, and you don't just show up and do the stunts. You really get into the head of this actor, because even when he has no dialogue, we know there are things going on in his head. He's searching for the people who killed his family, and he's trying to redeem himself in the eyes of his colleagues. So you do a lot of acting without dialogue.
Yeah,
right?
well, I was definitely looking to do something with a lot of action, but unless it's driven by emotion, I'm not interested. You know, it has to have some real depth to it.
Now, if I've got a script for you with no guns in it, you'll look at it in a different way now, right?
Of course.
Because you want to do other things.
Yes,
and
I want to do the complete opposite of what I did last.
And yet, if what you do, a film like this goes through the roof, there'll be offers sent to you that you just can't refuse, or you will refuse them.
I've refused some in the past, and I've never done a sequel before. Films that even, true stories that, there was no way to do a sequel, they still wanted to somehow, do Perfect Storm, just my character on an island, he floated away, but you never actually saw him die. And, Three Brothers, the list goes on. But
Only three?
Yeah, unless you could make it better than the first, it's just not really worth
Three Brothers
doing.
is a good movie, by the way.
Yeah, Four Brothers.
Four Brothers with you, playing Bobby Mercer, ironically.
Yeah.
When you film in a city like Detroit, that becomes another character in it, too. But you say, I wish it had been in Beverly Hills, or I wish it had been in someplace a little warmer. Everybody was cold in that film, right?
Yeah, and as was this, halfway through the movie, I'm like, why am I not doing a romantic comedy on the Warner lot? But, these are the kind of movies that I like watching, and I think people enjoy seeing me in them.
Now, when I see you in an action movie, he fires with his gun with his left hand. You hit drives when you play golf with left hand, but you putt right-handed?
Yes.
Whose decision was that?
Just confused. No, I started playing righty. I played baseball as a kid, so I was a switch hitter, and then I started playing the game righty, and then I discovered a lefty club, and I hit it longer and straighter. So.
Where'd you play on the diamond?
I played first base. I was a lefty catcher.
That's
believe
impossible.
It or not. Yeah.
Hasn't been one in 15 years.
My coach got me a lefty's catcher's mitt. I pitched. I played center field. I played second base as a lefty. Wow. I was kind of an all-around guy.
Our team could use you nowadays.
Yeah.
Someone once said of you, one reason for his success is his range. He evokes several emotions at once: strength, sensitivity, naivete, and anger. This does not come from years of formal training. Where does it come from?
Well, all I have is real-life experience to draw from, and I have plenty of it. But I've also made sure that I've studied every single person that I've worked with, starting with Penny Marshall and Danny DeVito, along, every other great filmmaker or actor that I've worked with. And growing up watching Cagney, McQueen, John Garfield, Robert Ryan.
Now, I know Cagney's a favorite of yours. In rehearsals, Cagney would be very toned down, and actors couldn't understand how he would be rehearsing one way. And when the cameras rolled, a volcano exploded. Is that what you like?
Yeah, I like to do it on the day. You don't want to shoot your load in rehearsal. Excuse my language. But and a lot of other people are very different. In this film, I was working with one actress where we're rehearsing and I have my sides and I'm kind of mumbling as I normally do. And there's a moment where she smacks me, and she actually smacked me in rehearsal, like really hard. I was like, okay, you want to wait till the camera rolls? But
you may not realize this. There's a lot of method actor in you. There really is.
Definitely.
And I don't know if you've ever thought of going and learning that now, or why deal with something like that when everything's working. But you go from the inside out. Am I right? Yes,
definitely. But I love acting so much, I would go and study and practice, play around. I love to do it. That's what I do. So. You
grew up wearing hand-me-downs. Your first prized possession that was not a hand-me-down was an Adidas sweatshirt, right?
Yeah, sweatsuit.
And you realized that there was a turning point in your life? Because you had so many older brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, I was the youngest of 9.
And did you treasure that and realize you've come a long way?
Yes.
Now, your mother worked a lot of jobs, and yet over the years seems to have accepted your success and be able to live with it and enjoy it. And first she saw the ads with you, the underwear ads. What? And this is a good Catholic woman. What was
she did not like that. Well, even before that, when I was doing the music stuff, I would pull down my pants, and it happened once at Magic Mountain. They said don't swear. So not only did I swear, but I pulled my pants down, and they threatened not to let me go on for the second show. But it became, almost like expected of me. So no, there are pictures of her like pulling my pants up, and anytime they would refer to me as a sex symbol, she'd want to throw up.
Now you've done remakes. You've done 2 remakes so far. Remakes of Charade and Planet of the Apes. If I have the greatest remake, will you say, this really has to be something special? I don't want to be the king of the remakes.
No, thank God I haven't done one in quite a while. But, you know, to have an opportunity to work with Tim Burton or to work with Jonathan Demme, especially at that stage of my career, they were too good to pass up. Even though I didn't necessarily think they would make the greatest films, I thought with the original Planet of the Apes, and when it came out, it was, you know, it was a classic.
Tim Burton compared you to Steve McQueen. That's
like that
a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, but I like that a lot.
There are a lot of parallels in your background, too.
Yeah. And Dick Zanuck actually produced Planet of the Apes,
right,
who ran 20th Century Fox and worked a lot with McQueen and Paul Newman and all those guys. So
you long to work with Scorsese. You finally do, and you find him letting you do some ad-libbing.
Yes.
That never happens. I mean, that's so rare. I mean, did he see something in you to trust you?
Well, he knew that I had grown up in that world. You know, that was my backyard. You know, had it been about, you know, Italian gangsters in New York, I probably would have just said exactly what was on the page. But I got to add a little bit of my mom and a little bit of my dad.
Now, there's the Mark Wahlberg, the actor, and Mark Wahlberg, the producer. Which brings you more satisfaction? People who walk up to you and quote lines or scenes from your movies, or someone, as just happened before, my partner Allison said, "Oh, I watched Entourage last night, which you produced, and I love the scene with it." Which brings you more satisfaction?
Well, they're very different. Acting obviously gives me a lot more personal satisfaction. There's nothing better than, you know, being on the set, doing a big scene, and you know, Peter Jackson saying, "I got exactly what I want, thank you," and then, you know, that ride home, kind of reliving those moments in your head and playing that out. But giving guys an opportunity who are super talented and not having a place to really showcase their abilities week in and week out is also another level of satisfaction.
The Jeremy Piven character, does he come from a real life?
Yes, my real agent, Ari Emanuel. Yeah.
And did they meet, or did he just?
He used to represent him. Jeremy fired him years ago. So, you know, there's a little bit of a love-hate relationship there, but Ari is thrilled at the, you know, the character that Jeremy portrays, and also he acts more and more like the character when we're in a situation where people know that he's the inspiration.
I'm sure the actors on that show, who are technically, I suppose, working for you, have feedback on your work on the big screen. That must be gratifying to hear when they like your films, right?
Yeah, yeah, and if they don't like it, they don't tell me.
What's the hardest moment you've had in a movie so far? Has there been a scene when you did not look forward to it going to the set that day? Yeah, there were a few in Boogie Nights. What a surprise.
You know, whipping out the prosthetic, putting the prosthetic on. It was actually, you know, not on camera. But, you know, that movie was a real turning point for me because, you know, I had played a tough guy in The Basketball Diaries, and I played a kind of tough guy in Fear. And those movies were well received in the neighborhood by the guys that I always looked up to and wanted to impress. And this was the first time that I was going to have to be vulnerable. And, you know, Showgirls had just come out as well. So, you know, there was a kind of, you know, the possibility that it wouldn't go so well.
Biggest mistake of your life, buying that Mercedes-Benz at the time that you did?
Yes, yeah. Well, I bought it, I got a $100,000 check, and I literally handed it over to the guy at the dealership. And everybody in the neighborhood hated me for it because I'm driving around in a neighborhood that had never seen a Mercedes-Benz, so it had more scratches and flat tires, and they cut the hood on it, you name it.
Kind of got what you deserved at the time, right?
Exactly, yeah.
This is Mark Wahlberg.
But it's still in the family. Johnny Drama, the real Johnny Drama, owns that car now.
Oh, okay. Keep it as a memento of a different Mark Wahlberg, right? Something you wouldn't do before, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do now that you're a father, and you know, you're a different person than you were back then.
Thank God.
This is Mark Wahlberg. The movie is called Max Payne. It's based on a video game, but it's got a film noir style all its own that makes it an exceptional film and first-rate entertainment. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.